has been my main focus. It's been my focus since the beginning of the year, but now that I've identified blockages, you guys know this, I'm repeating myself with the whole money thing. It's just starting to move faster for me. I'm so grateful to be able to share some of the income with our intern. It's not a lot of income, but it's a percentage that I have told myself, if I really want to make space to create this business, then I need to create expansion and make room for it. And one of the ways that I am making room for it is by paying her out a certain percentage that comes into the brand. That's really motivating me and helping me, because not every time, because it's only been once that I've given her a percentage, and another percentage is coming up for her in a couple of weeks, which she didn't even expect, by the way. When I announced this opportunity, I said that it would not be paid. And that's because I really wanted to find someone that was interested in really truly being part of something that there wasn't a monetary exchange for, but they would be willing to take an energetic exchange. It's a big goal of mine to, of course, give her energetic exchange. I actually made her tell me what were some of the goals that she had so that I could help her achieve those goals. And I never told her that, I was going to give her a percentage of the money that came in. I barely actually even told her that the other day, and I told her that it was just for this project. She doesn't really even know that it's for the projects that are coming up. I guess now she does. But the reason I'm doing this is because I really want to make space for it. This idea of making space and moving money out of my energetic field came from Pam from Café con Pam. She actually mentioned that this one lady that she was working for had to pay, thousands of dollars to get an elevator fixed, and it was an unexpected expense. And Pam was coming a little bit from a place of lack, like we normally do, and she's like, oh man, that sucks. You have to pay $2,000 for this elevator. I think it was something like that. I can't remember the quantity, but you have to pay, X amount of dollars that you weren't expecting to fix this elevator, this community elevator in her building. And the woman said, it's okay, it opens up the space so that I can generate more money. And that was such an impact on Pam that she had to share it with me. And it was such an impact on me that I started applying it to what I was working on, including Let There Be Lose. So I already had this intention that when an intern came forward, that intern would take a percentage of the money that was coming in for the brand, like on the healings and on the events that we do, etc. And it's been working out so well for me. On top of that, I have other people in mind that I want to bring onto the brand to execute certain roles, certain functions that I think will be crucial to the brand to build it and make it a bigger brand as it continues to grow. There's this one person that I have in mind, and as I practiced this deliberate creation meditation before I even got out of bed or opened my eyes, I began to see the brand expand. And I began to see the person that I want on the team be part of that expansion. Before I go any further, I do want to say that I really love this way of practicing because I'm still in bed and I don't have to get out of bed and sit down and do the whole meditating thing. I can just do it while I'm still in bed. So that's why I'm so excited to share it with you all, because I think that exercising this practice in this manner might be really easy for some of you to start tomorrow morning. It's incredible. So as I got up and moved from my day, mind you, this is the very first day I practiced this, I receive a message from the particular person that I want on the Let There Be Lose team. The person says, you need to reach out to this company and partner up with them. This is exactly why I want this person on the team, in order to drive that part of the business. I thought to myself, what the heck? I just did my deliberate creation meditation. He probably thinks I'm crazy, but I was like, I just envisioned you in my expansion, blah, blah, blah stuff. He probably just like, oh, Linda, whatever. I decided that that was such a big sign that I went ahead and followed through with his lead. So when he said you need to reach out to these people and see if they'd partner up with you, I was going to follow through, and I did. And at first there was a little bit of hesitation, but I was like, no, this is part of me not only living in flow, but this is also part of my expansion. I called him in to bring me this lead, and he did, without him even being formally part of the team. So I needed to show up for the universe and execute my side, like my responsibility, my action. Okay, I can't just like sit here, do nothing, and hope that, the brand that he suggested would come to me. I needed to take the action, especially because Let There Be Lose is so small, it's just a little baby. I updated my media kit immediately. I carved out a beautiful email. I shot that email out to about 10 different brands that would be great to collaborate with. And guess what? The company that he suggested in particular reached out right away. We have a meeting with this brand that I am so excited for. I can't wait to jump on the call, but they responded to my email. They were the first ones out of all of the emails that I fired off. They were the first ones to reach back out, and I'm so excited. But the point here is that this way of deliberate creation really blossomed for me. I started looking into this more, so we're probably going to take a deeper dive into what all of this means and how to really practice and use this to our benefit. But for now, I just want to give you a really quick overview because it worked for me, and it's been working every single day since she suggested it. And I've been watching so much expansion happen just by this small change. If this resonates with you, then I would definitely like to invite you to practice deliberate creation before you get out of bed, which is so lovely, right? Because then you're just in bed. There's not like this extra step. I think this is going to be really good for not only people that barely started meditating, that are new to meditation, but that also like to use guided meditations like the ones that I create here on the podcast. So this might be a little bit easier for you to get into if you're not very much into the silent meditating thing, which I totally understand. But, it should be a goal for us to move towards. I know all about loving a guided meditation. It really helped me in my earlier years when I first started practicing. And I think that if you find great guided meditations that have really good intentions behind them, then they can be extremely helpful, which is why I'm so passionate about creating them myself. But for starters, I think this is really good. So I just wanted to give a shout out to nutrition_Jessica_G_ for making the suggestion. Thank you so much. It's paying off. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to jump right into Yoni series episode 3.
Return to the one. To the one.
I want to give you a really quick overview on episode number 2 and what the goal is. I'm so glad that we had this little bit of a break because I think it got me to be in a better space about speaking about this topic, because I know episode number 1 and number 2 of the Yoni series were really, really heavy. And I'm glad that we went there because it's my truth and because it's a lot of listeners out there. It's their truth as well. But as I mentioned before, this isn't what the Yoni series is going to be about. The point of healing the Yoni is for 2 things. The first is to really be able to embody our creative beings and what we are here to manifest, what we're here to create, essentially our life's purpose. Who are you? Why did you come here? And what do you want to execute? In order to answer those questions, I want to say that in most cases, we need to be able to identify anything that is blocking us from becoming our true selves. The energy that culminates in the yoni is not only the energy that gives birth to beautiful beings, but it is also the same energy that creates worlds, that creates experiences, that creates dreams. Basically, everything that we are creating is coming from the yoni. And if that yoni isn't clear of negative energy or any blockages that we might be experiencing, we could be potentially holding ourselves back from experiencing a life that we have always dreamed of, but are probably or most likely too scared to even execute. So I just wanted to rein that in and go back and summarize what is the point of the Yoni series. I'm really passionate about this right now because not only do my children give me life, but Let There Be Luz gives me life. I feel like I've finally found my life's purpose. I don't know that it's always going to look like, another episode on this podcast. I'm hoping that it grows into being something even bigger than my wildest dreams could ever imagine. But the point is that I really think I found my quote unquote thing. That is what I want for everyone that's listening. If you haven't already found it, I want you to find it, or at least to understand how to take the steps to achieving what it is that you believe in your heart that you're looking for. So in the second episode, I talked about how I felt that the next episode should be about discovering any blockages that we may have. Like, how do we even know that we have a blockage if we have a blockage? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we even identify that? Where do we even begin? What are some signs? So I really started thinking about this today, and I came up with what I believe to be 4 simple signs on how we can begin to identify any blockages. Maybe in the future as we proceed, we can find more ways on how to identify these blockages, but I wanted to share the 4 that I felt called to not only talk about, but they also just kind of came to me. And the first one is an energy imprint. We all have an energy imprint. What type of energy did you grow up in? What was the energy that you were born in like? When we're as small as being inside the womb, we are already learning how to navigate the energy that we're about to be born in. Isn't that incredible? From the time you're in the womb, your brain is already adjusting to the way that it needs to essentially react when it comes out of the womb. To me, I found that so fascinating. And to take it even a step further, did you guys know that your grandmother carried you in her womb? So your mom already had all of her eggs in her body from the time she was in her mother's uterus. So that means that my grandmother carried me. I have to really take into consideration that even the energy that my mother grew up in somehow left an imprint on me. I really just want us to take a moment and think about that. So already, not only are you working with the energy that you're born into, but you're also working with energy down through the matrilineage, down through, your mom, the energy that she brought forth from being in her grandmother's womb, and so on and so forth. I just find these things so fascinating, and I sometimes just get caught up thinking about all of the energy that I am bringing forward. Who am I here to become? Who am I here to transform into? Because I feel like I'm not only transforming myself, but I am transforming the energy of all the women that have came before me. And it is sort of my duty and it is my soul right. And I think that's why we're so passionate about finding our life's purpose. The number one way that I feel how to identify our blockages is by taking some time and look at our energy imprint. What are some things about the energy that you grew up in when you were younger that annoyed you, that you might be turning into? For example, I watch my son. My son is an avid sports person. Like, he just loves sports, and he's been this way ever since he was a year old. And he's 2 years old now, and it doesn't matter what sport it is, he is great at it. And I have my head full of so many doubts when I watch him. Like, he'll shoot a basket from far away, and in my head, I'm like, he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. And then without any apprehension or any blockages, he just makes it. You know what I'm saying? But if I were to verbalize the way I'm feeling, if I were to constantly let him know, then that would be an energy imprint that I would be developing in him. As I am watching him move through life, he's also teaching me that the impossible is possible, that there's nothing wrong with the impossibility. There's something wrong with me believing that something is impossible. Is that making sense? I don't know if that's making sense or not, but basically he's teaching me that he can do whatever he wants at whatever age, and that there's no inhibitions on executing a certain task. There's no task too big or too small for him. And it also takes me back to times where I wanted to do something and, my mom was like, no, you can't do that, or be careful, or stop, or what are you doing, or, like imposing her limited beliefs onto me. So again, number one would be to look at your energy imprint and identify if anything from your childhood is being carried over into your life now, whether it's the relationship you have with your kids or relationship that you have with your family. Essentially, the question is, are you turning into your mom? I think it's important to take the time to identify that and maybe make some changes in the way you think, or the way, not maybe necessarily the way that you think for the first part, but at least stop the way that you behave or what you say or the way you react. Like, just stop and check yourself. So that's number one. Number two is, are you allowing for your scabs to heal? So we all have scabs that we are trying to heal. And it is so easy for a lot of us to start picking at our scabs and bring the pain and bring the hurt back. Any chance we get, in some cases, a lot of people will like to bring up their pain body. They want to talk about a certain incident that happened to them over and over and over and over again. I used to do this all the time. Here's what I learned early on. It's not just about sharing your story if you're going to share it. It's about sharing your story and how did you overcome it? How did you come out through the other side? You can't just share your pain body and leave everyone in a worse off place than when you found them. By sharing your story, you have to bring some relief to the story and share how you overcame it. So many times in my life, I would just, share a lot of the pain that I went through. I didn't have a resolution, but I just needed to get it off my chest in some way. But I think we really need to start to take responsibility for the pain that we have gone through. At some point, we have to come to a place where we understand that the same way that we're able to attract good things, in that same way we're also able to attract bad things. And so if we don't heal from those bad things, the only thing that we're doing is bringing on more bad things, more bad experiences. So are we healing the scab or are we picking at it? That is the second way to identify any blockages, any energy blockages that you may have. And a quick way to do that, even if you don't share your story, let's say you're someone that's very reserved and you don't like sharing your story or the pain that you're going through, how many times to yourself do you hurt yourself? Or do you tell yourself your story like, you can't do that because you're not good enough. You can't wear that because you're fat. You can't eat that because you're, just how many times are you abusive to yourself in private, essentially, in your head? So that's number 2, is are you allowing yourself to heal, or essentially, are you your worst enemy? The third way to identify a blockage is to ask yourself, am I fulfilling my life's purpose? Is this what I want to do? Meaning your job, meaning the major that you've chosen to study in school. Like, just ask yourself, is this really what I want to be doing, or am I living someone else's dream? And I think that is a really important one because it takes you into the next step of number 3, and that is, what part of your purpose gives you fear? So why aren't you fulfilling your life's purpose? Why aren't you following your dreams? Why aren't you doing what you really want to do? I think almost always it's probably out of fear. And what is that fear? So it's just peeling back the layers and identifying it. If you're in an unhappy place, in an unhappy relationship, in an unhappy job, what is stopping you from making yourself happy? And what obstacles have you placed in front of yourself? Or how many limited beliefs do you keep telling yourself that are keeping you from moving to the next step? Because you know what? We all came here to fulfill our life's purpose. And the reason we aren't happy and the reason we become bitter and angry and jealous is because we aren't fulfilling our life's purpose. That's God trying to tell us, hey, wake up. This isn't what you were brought on this earth to do. You were brought on this earth to have your heart sing joy, peace, and love. Like, that is really what you want to do. You want to do what makes you happy. But sometimes instead of doing that, we'll, get on social media. That's the easiest thing to do. And look at other people that are taking the steps to making themselves happy, and then we get into a place of bitterness. I think that's a really good place to be in, actually, as long as you're willing to identify that you are having those feelings and you move towards positive action. And you ask yourself, what am I here to do? It's not to say that you're going to take an exact copy of what someone else is doing and you try to execute it, because that never works. It's trying to find your own way. You can be inspired by other people. I always encourage women that are like, I want to start a spiritual podcast. I'm like, that is awesome. We need so many spiritual podcasts. I could listen to 10. I don't have a limit. I don't need to just listen to one. You know what I mean? Like, Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, it's like, we need more of those. We need more uplifting content. Someone isn't competing with me. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm the only, Latina spiritual whatever the case may be. Like, no. If someone would try to recreate my series word by word and doing it episode by episode, then that would be a little questionable. That is why it's important to find your gift, what you were here to do, and you have something beautiful, creative, and unique that is meant for you, that only you can do, that I can't copy, that no one can copy. That is the third one. Ask yourself, are you fulfilling your life's purpose? Identify the fear and start working towards tackling that fear and take baby steps towards moving into that direction. And lastly, we have number 4. This is actually my favorite way to identify any energy blockages that I have. I discovered this in my early 20s, and I was so happy that I discovered it in my early 20s because it really helped me navigate through my 20s and into my 30s. And it's still such a useful tool for me. What we don't like in others is what we don't like in ourselves. So we are all a reflection of one another. If I see a woman that is doing something and deep down inside I have this need to criticize and judge her, it is because what I don't like about her lives in me. and I can't even see it. That's what's so beautiful about having a reflection. That's what's so beautiful. God is perfect in every way because He knew that we weren't going to be able to see our own faults. He put people in front of us where we are able to identify our faults through them. So we have to be very careful when we judge other women or even men, because what we hate in them is something that has the potential to manifest in us. And that is why we dislike it so much. I also believe that when you judge someone on something, you are automatically speaking it into existence for yourself. Oh man, I have watched this so many times happen in my life and happen in other people's lives. People that have spoken on me and people that I have spoken on. So be very careful who you speak on, because you will bring that into your energy field. That is a really big one for me. Just remember that we are all reflections of one another. We need to learn to have compassion for each other and really truly be and come from a non-judgmental place. This is a practice. I don't know that we get through life and we're like, oh yeah, check, got that. What I know for sure is that these 4 ways of identifying energy blockages have helped me throughout the years. And as I mentioned, if I think of something else, I will let you know. If you have another way to identify blockages, please share those with us. That's how we learn, is by talking about our experiences and how we handle certain situations. These were the 4 that came to me, that as I was thinking, how have I dealt with things in the past? What has helped me? Those were my 4 tools. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about our Yoni work.
Return to the one. Return to the one.
Now that we have a few tools to identify any energy blockages that we may be carrying in our energy body, I really want you to also just remember that this isn't separate from the Yoni. This is in fact all one energy that comes from the Yoni. I want you to remember that the Yoni is a sacred space where life and creativity is born from. In the next episode, we're going to discuss different ways to begin healing the Yoni from these blockages. But I think first and foremost, it is really important for us to be able to identify them. And they're not going to be identifiable just through the Yoni. Just understand that it's energy that is blocking the Yoni from creating. I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, I think at this point the easiest place to leave any questions is in the DM if you want to be more private, or on a comment on one of the pictures is really easy for us to get back to you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I love you guys. Follow us on Instagram at LetThereBeLuz. You can follow me on Instagram at LuzWarrior. Don't forget to head over to iTunes. Be sure to rate and review us. That not only helps us get more visibility, but I just want to remind you that you're voting for more spiritual podcasts. You're voting for more female podcasts. You're voting for people of color podcasts, the whole 9. I love you guys. May the light within get stronger.
Return to the one.